The last thing we might want to do is, depending on how you want to visualize this, you might want to actually extract the values from a raster, which is an image right now, back to a vector. And for that, the simplest way to do that is to slice that surface that's represented by the raster and generate the contours. There's a really simple tool for that in the raster menu. You go to extraction contours. Okay, so before you do that, like the contour is going to ask you for an interval. This is basically the resolution at which it cuts that raster file. You want to just browse around your map and see basically the spread from the highest to lowest value, so you know what resolution you want to cut it in. Okay, well we can use this chart too, because we visualize it's going to tell you the lowest value and the highest value. So we have about a difference of 10. So if we want like 20 contour lines, we'll do every, say, 0.5, right? So we go into raster extraction contour. Here's the input file. This should be a raster. We're going to use interpolation, our first one. Output file, we have to select a new file, and this is going to be now a vector file, a shape file with our lines, contours. I'm just going to say contours, interpolation. See, now it's a shape file format. Save, and then here I'm going to say 0.5. Click OK. You can see now it's generated our contours. This might be cool visually, or also, you know, you can label them with the elevation. So if you don't want to visualize as a raster, you can also just show these contours. All right, and we can go ahead and do the same thing with our heat map here. Raster, extraction, contours. First I have to check my range, so this goes from 0 to 0.3, so it's a much smaller range. I want to make sure you use a smaller interval for the contour as well. So here, let's say contours, heat map. And for the interval, we have a difference of about 0.3, so dividing that by 2, something like 0.15 should work pretty well. Okay. And there's my contours there. All right, so that's the basic overview of 2 raster-based analysis tools. And like I was saying, you know, these could be really useful for doing exploratory analysis of your data. If you're already starting to look at your data, a good initial visualization might be the density of points or the way that the values of those points change over space. But in terms of the sequence of the class, this is really the transition point where we're going to start to talk conceptually about the idea of predicting values or modeling a certain system in the city based on points we know. So predicting values in places that we don't know anything about based on what happens in places that we do know something about. Okay, so even though this is sort of automated, our first foray into machine learning will be to actually recreate one of these heat maps.